Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you all are fine with the grace of Almighty Allah and are safe. Dear students, it is week 5th and we are going to have discussion about challenge and stability following the death of Jinnah 1948 to 1958. In this video, we are going to cover following major topics: death of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Khwaja Nasmuddin and Liaquat Ali Khan, objective resolution, Public and Representative Offices Disqualification Act, refugees, army leaders, and next, Ghulam Muhammad as the Governor General from 1951 to 1955, 1954 and 1955 constitutional crisis, Iskandar Mirza, the next Governor General, 1955 to 1958, 1956 Constitution, One Unit Policy, Modernization, and Field Marshal Ashok Khan. The students, knowing about Pakistan history is very important to assess the current issues Pakistan facing are mostly inherited nature. As in the week 4, I explained that how boundary issues, the unjust division of assets, settling of the migrators, lack of resources, lack of any agreed constitution, these were the problems that led Pakistan into troubles, and since then these problems have rooted in our history, in our present, and they may shape some kind of problems in the future if they are not addressed properly. Well, the most significant loss that Pakistan had after the other losses I explained, the death of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah is the more important. And this loss is quite an irreparable loss, that Pakistan was left as an orphan on the mercy of the uh, political and bureaucratic, including civil and military bureaucracy, on their aspirations. And Pakistan since then is subjected to experiments. The very first decade, from 1948 to 1958, is quite challenging in history of Pakistan, because the Congress and the world outside Pakistan were conceiving that Pakistan may lost into crisis and may end up with in pieces. Although the initial years remained turbulent, chaotic, there were many social and political vindications and lot more. But the same era, Pakistan made some means some developments towards the nationhood. Let's analyze first the situation in which Pakistan was left after the death of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Clear? Pakistan was a poor country with the mass of its people living closing to very poor level. Secondly, landowners had dominated the politics and had resultantly captured most of the resources and as well as they hold the political representation. Relations with India were quite vulnerable, rather, they were quite hostile and full of anger and enmity over Kashmir and other princely states. Secondly, soon after the birth and after the death of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the provincialism, the proud of language that sprout out, the wisdom, vision, unity, love that the Muslims of subcontinent had expressed and exhibited during Pakistan movement was almost extinguished or it was replaced by the provincial and regional racial rivalries. Pakistan didn't have any constitution at that time to to run the state machinery. Rather, the Constitution of 1935, All India Act 1935, was the tool to run the government. However, Quaid-e-Azam wished, but unfortunately, he passed away. These are all the problems that Pakistan was surrounded, and furthermore, the economical vulnerability, lack of resources were the other that uh, were forcing Pakistan to look forward to the other nations other than India. Fine. Dear students, let's have a look on the governor generals, presidents, and prime ministers that had ruled Pakistan from 1948 to 1958. Well, these three major high offices in Pakistan in the first decade remained uneasy, rather they kept wrestling for power, and they were trying to adjust their jurisdictions and powers. But the same struggle, the same conflict that happened in 1948 to 1958 among the high officers is still continued in various shapes. Governor General basically is an office created by British soon after the partition. So Governor General was the head of the state designed by the British by the Partition Act. Second is the president on the pattern of American head of state, where president is the head of the state. The, the later on the office of president was shown off. Whereas the office of prime minister, you all are aware that is the head of administration in accordance with the British parliamentary system. Fine. In Britain, you know that the England, Queen of England, or the King of England is the head of the state, constitutional head of the state, whereas the administrative head is the prime minister. Clear? Or rather, nowadays, the King of England is simply a symbolic representation. Rather, all the powers lie with the Congress, the British Parliament, and with the Prime Minister. The very first Governor General was Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah from 1947 to 1948. Second, Khwaja Nazmuddin from 1948 to 1951. Third, Ghulam Muhammad 1951 to 1955. Next, Iskandar Mirza 1955 to 1956. Presidents. Iskandar Mirza basically was the last Governor General, and he is also the first president of Pakistan, 1956 to 1958. Second president is 1958 to 1969. Clear? I mean, till this era, 1958, General Muhammad Ayub Khan, whereas the Prime Minister, the President's office remained throughout in the Pakistani parliamentary system. Okay. Then Prime Ministers. The first Prime Minister, Khan Liaquat Ali Khan from 1947 to 1951. Second, Khwaja Nazmuddin 1951 to 1953. Third, Muhammad Ali Bogra 1953 to 1955. And 1955 to 1956, Chaudhry Muhammad Ali, and 1956 to 1957, Hussain Shahid Suhrawardy, and 1957, Ibrahim Ismail Chandragar, and 1957 to 1958, Feroz Khan Noor. Dear students, if we look in depth, that almost seven prime ministers changed in just four within 10 years. This is the a situation that how the parliamentary system has always been derailed in Pakistan owing to the internal conflicts, and the office of prime minister is always under the serious threat either by governor generals, presidents, or sometimes it is because of the armed forces intervention or so. In the current situation, you find this that since uh, 2000 to 2020 in present time, there are number of prime ministers in Pakistan have changed. Thank you very much.